Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making shrimp enchiladas. So if you would like to join me in preparing this recipe, continue watching this video and join me in my kitchen. But first we're going to be going over the ingredients. We're going to need 1 pound of raw shrimp. The size of it doesn't really matter because we will be chopping it into smaller pieces, but it does need to be peeled and deveined. We're also going to need 1 Poblano pepper, and I like to add a little spice to mine, so I'm going to include 1 Serrano pepper. Now the Serrano pepper is optional. If you don't want your spicy, then you can leave that one out completely. And 1 red bell pepper. I'm using the red one, but you can use whichever color you prefer. I like to use the red to add a little color to it. Half a cup of sour cream, half a cup of heavy cream, half an onion for the shrimp, and 1/4 of an onion for the sauce. Half a cup of chopped cilantro, and 6 to 7 garlic cloves. And for seasonings, we're going to need half a teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of paprika, and salt and pepper. I'm going to start off by roasting the Poblano pepper. I'm going to do it on the stove top since I'm only roasting one. But when I roast a lot of them, I like to do them in the oven because it does it in no time. You can also do it over an open flame or on the grill. When roasting them on the stove, you might want to use a pan that you're not too attached to because it might get a little bit charred. Once the pepper is nice and blistered on all sides, we're going to remove it, place it in a plastic bag, and seal it. This is going to help loosen up the skin, and it's going to be a lot easier to peel later on. While we're waiting for our pepper to cool down, we're going to begin to prepare the vegetables for the shrimp. The onion is going to be one of the first ingredients going into the pan, so we're going to place it in a separate dish along with the garlic. Now we're going to move on to the Serrano pepper. I'm only going to be using 1 because I want a little bit of spice, but if your level of spiciness is a little bit higher, you can throw in another one. I'm going to leave the seeds in the Serrano pepper, but if you wish to remove them, you can. The seeds is what gives you that extra heat, so I'm going to be leaving them in there. Now we're just going to place it in the container, and we're going to move on to the cilantro. The cilantro, we're just going to roughly chop it. It doesn't have to be nicely minced because once you add it to the shrimp, it's going to wither down quite a bit. The bell pepper, we're going to start out by trimming off the end. Then we're going to cut it in half to remove the seeds and the vines. I'm going to be using the entire bell pepper, but if you want to give it extra color, you can use a combination of different color bell peppers. Now we're going to move on to the main ingredient of the dish, the shrimp. These are already peeled, deveined, and rinsed. You can leave them whole or chop them into smaller pieces. I like to chop them into smaller pieces so the enchiladas are not so bulky. Once we're done with the shrimp, we're going to check on the Poblano pepper. Now that it's completely cooled down, we're going to remove it from the bag and peel it. When peeling it, the peels that don't come off with your hand, use a small knife and scrape them off. Once we have all the peel removed, break it open, and you can use a knife to cut it open. I usually just tear it open and remove the seeds and the stem. Once we have the stem and the vines removed, we're going to run it under cold water to remove the remainder of the seeds. Once it's nice and clean, we're going to transfer it to the blender along with 1/4 of an onion, 3 garlic cloves, half a cup of sour cream, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, or you can also use chicken bouillon, and 1 cup of water to help blend all the ingredients. Blend for a good minute or until all the ingredients are well blended. In a medium saucepan, heat up a tablespoon of olive oil, then transfer the sauce from the blender into the saucepan. I have my burner set at a medium-high heat, which is an 8.0 on my digital stove. We're going to leave it at that temperature until it reaches a light simmer. Once it reaches a light simmer, we're going to turn it down to a low heat. And we're going to let it simmer for a good 10 to 15 minutes or until it reaches a light thickness. If you prefer your sauce a little bit thicker, you can add a little bit of cornstarch. Just make sure to dilute it in a little bit of water before adding it into the pot. Otherwise, you're going to have lumps in your sauce. This is the thickness that I prefer. Now that it's done, we're going to cover it to keep it warm. Now we can begin to prepare the shrimp. We're going to heat up a medium pan over medium-high heat. We're going to start out by melting 3 tablespoons of butter. We're going to add the minced garlic and the onion first, and we're going to saute for a good 3 to 4 minutes or until it's nice and fragrant. Once they're nice and fragrant and translucent, we're going to add in the peppers. We're going to start out with the bell pepper, then the Serrano pepper. We're going to give it a good mix to get those ingredients integrated with the onion and the garlic. And we're going to saute for about 30 seconds to a minute. Then we're going to add the shrimp. Now we're going to give it another good mix to get that shrimp well integrated with all those delicious vegetables. Once it's well mixed, we're going to season with a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're going to add the remainder of the seasonings, the cumin and the paprika. At this point, we're also going to add in the cilantro, and we're going to give it another good mix to get all those ingredients well integrated. Once everything is well mixed, we're going to add the last of the ingredients, the half a cup of heavy cream and half a cup of the enchilada sauce that we prepared. We're going to give it another good mix, and we're going to turn the burner down to a low-medium heat. We're going to let it simmer until most of the liquid has evaporated. It should take about 10 minutes or so. Once it looks like this, we can begin to prepare the enchiladas. For the tortillas, you can use corn or flour. I'm going to do a combination of both to see which one tastes better. I'm going to let you know which one I prefer at the end. We're going to start out with the flour ones first. We're going to add a good spoonful of the shrimp mixture right on the end of the tortilla, and we're going to roll it up and place it on a baking dish. For the corn tortillas, I'm going to be using homemade spinach tortillas, but you can use whichever brand you prefer. And you can find the recipe for those tortillas in the description of this video, along with all the other flavored corn tortillas that I have on my channel. Once our baking dish is full, we can begin to add the enchilada sauce. And I'm going to pour a good amount of the enchilada sauce right on top of the enchiladas. We want them to be nice and saucy and rich. Then we're going to add a good amount of cheese. I'm going to use pepper jack, but another good melting cheese that you can use is mozzarella, Monterey Jack, or you can use whichever one you prefer. My oven is preheated at 350 degrees. Now we're going to place them in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the cheese is nice and melted. Meanwhile, we're going to prepare the enchiladas with the corn tortillas. Before preparing your enchiladas, you want to make sure your tortillas are nice and warm. Same thing with the flour tortillas. If you try to wrap them up when they're cold, your tortillas are going to break. So make sure your tortillas are nice and warm before you begin to wrap them. Now we're going to pour a good amount of the sauce right over it. Add some of that pepper jack cheese. If your plate is oven safe, you can place it in the oven to melt the cheese, or you can place it in the microwave for a few seconds until the cheese is melted. We're going to top them off with a little bit of fresh chopped cilantro. And now it's time for the taste test. After tasting both of them, my husband preferred the ones with the flour tortillas, but I personally prefer the ones with the corn tortillas. But why don't you give this recipe a try and let me know which one you prefer. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you would like to see more videos like this and you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the little bell so you can get a notification each time I upload a new video. We upload videos at least twice or more a week, so you will always be getting something new. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much, and I'll see you on a different day with a different recipe. Thank you so much for watching.